The warning signs, the warning signs. Are you listening? Are you paying attention? Hey, Tim, do you want to tell us what you've been through in the last month or so?
Yeah. Hey, Andre, how you going, mate? Mate, the warning signs is a big thing. I think as men, we sometimes dismiss the warning signs from our wives. And what I've been through for the last month or two is that I haven't been reading the warning signs, even though my wife has been putting out the warnings and the red flags for my behavior and how I've been. I had a lot of old patterns of mind kick in, and wasn't watching it, wasn't connected to what she was saying. And a big one for me, my rejection pattern was kicking in. So everything she said to me, I was pushing back at her the same as what she was pushing at me, and that's part of the rejection. And so, mate, it's been a rocky little path. Just this last period of time, it's been very rough for both of us. We've got a lot of stuff in businesses. Between us, we've got 7 different companies, so we've got a lot of business. Sometimes I put it down to my wife being in a masculine energy. So I just think that that little bit of, ram on ram is just her being in masculine. So I then put myself to bring out her feminine. But for the last few months, I haven't been able to, and I haven't been in the headspace myself to, be there for her to do that. So I've been basically pushing back, and as she points the finger at me, I push the finger at her. I didn't see the warning signs, and mate, that D word came up, and it's been real. Like that, that D word, no one ever wants to talk about or want to hear, especially when deep down, man, I love her so much, and I don't want that to be the case. But when that happened, man, I pushed her to the absolute limits, going, well, if that's what you want, let's go. And that was me playing patterns.
Got it. Uh, I want to share my one too. I had been probably for a month in a series of disagreements that has led to resistance and just in opposition constantly and playing at each other and eventually we have reconnected. But what I would love to take the direction of is, if you want to tell us, team, what were the catalysts to reconnect? If you could tell us how did you handle this? And I know it was pretty extreme. How did you come to terms and how did you solve this?
Yeah, look, and that is part of my pattern where I was pushing back really hard at her and saying, well, if you want to make that decision and you want to put that in front of me, we'll just go for it. So I was pushing her off the cliff. Like, live by the doors, sword, die by the sword. And if you want to put the sword at me and at my throat, like, just push it. Like, and I was actually pushing her to make the decision. It wasn't until I saw the emotion and the realness by her by saying it's not what she really wants, and all she wants is for me to be the man that she first met and for the man that used to cherish her and appreciate her. So I reached out to my coaches to seek help. And I've had a life coach now for 19 years, and someone who also worked with both of us. So my wife has also seen her for probably 14, 15 years of that period of time. And I had a big conversation with that coach, and so did my wife, and we chose to, within days, like this. A lot of this went down on Monday, and today's only Thursday. But like, we were able to connect and go and see her and have a session with her. It was almost a 4-hour session yesterday, where we're able to lay our swords down, we're able to lay our shields on the ground, and walk into a room and literally talk about how we are and how we feel and what we want, how we see the future, and redesign what we've been and redesign who we want to be moving forward. It doesn't matter how long you've been married. It doesn't matter how many kids you got. you know, you've got to constantly keep working. And this is a good sign for me to realize it's constant work. It's constantly evolving. Evolution's always there in a marriage. So being stubborn like I've been, in our marriage, and saying that she's the one that needs to change and she's telling me I need to change, that stubbornness is going to only result in separation. So luckily I'm equipped, and luckily we are equipped with having coaches around us that can support getting us through this. And for me, it is not having the fear of going and facing this, where I've been able to work on that with myself, to go, well, you know, whatever the result is, it is, but I love her and I adore her and I want to be with her. So let's go and get support to make this, you know, if she can't do that with me, well, then that's the answer. We just need to make that decision. So it was a big result yesterday. It was tiring. It was at the back end of it, there's things I need to change and there's things that she needs to work on as well. So it all comes down to the tone, the way we speak to each other. It comes down to the way we show our affection towards each other. It's a lot of it, you know, for me personally, is my triggers and my past wounds that were playing out. My rejection pattern, she was rejecting me. So what did? I forced the rejection on her. So I was like, well, stuff it. Let's go for it. If that's what you want to do. It's not what I wanted to do. It's just that I was letting that rejection pattern, I'll reject you before you reject me. And that was the stupidest
This
pattern
is
I could
deep.
have had at the time.
Yeah, that must have been very deep, and well done for coming through it. And what I've heard, vulnerability was a key essential of solving this, and a third party, a coach who you have trusted. And very interestingly, I've had a similar experience where we dropped resistance, and I was somehow able to create a new space for us where we could talk honestly and again build a common ground of love, appreciation, and putting aside the things about where we disagreed.
Yeah.
So well done. I celebrate you. I really celebrate you, because what I'm hearing is that probably most people out there, and I'm talking about men, would just burn down the house and move on to another relationship and probably do the same in 3 to 5 years or even earlier. What would you say as last word?
I totally agree, Andre. It's just bringing that, really digging inside and what is it you really want, and actually expressing that. And that's the hard thing. Like, my voice was hard to talk about that stuff because I was hurting so much because of her words that she didn't want to be with me. And being vulnerable. And that's probably the hardest thing. I think you nailed it there, mate. It's the vulnerability. So I challenge any man that's listening to this. Like, vulnerability is hard and it's tough, and sometimes you got to swallow your pride and your ego, and just express what you're actually wanting. And that's something that I wasn't doing with her. I also wasn't asking her what she wanted from me. And it's that in that communication where you find true connection.
Well done. If you're listening to us up to this point, seek help, seek support, because the answers will not come from your head if you're running circles, that you've been hanging on to these patterns and triggers for a long time. Reach out to us if we can help you, or we can direct you to someone who can, and be the man that you deserve to be, and be there for women. They need you. Thanks very much.